Well, that is certainly not what we expected. Blackmagic have finally revealed their new cinema camera, dropping the Pocket name, but not the Pocket shape. I did a recent rumour roundup video as well as a wish list, which you can just check out here, and some of those wishes have come true. However, other things are quite different than expected. From the rumours, full frame wasn't expected, but that's exactly what we've got, a full frame open gate 6K sensor, which is very impressive indeed. But what I think is really cool about that is if you shoot Super 35, that's going to give you effectively a 4K 60p image in a Super 35 frame, which basically means we've got a Pocket Cinema 4K G2 that we're all wishing for. That will actually be really good if you're doing long form content and you want to shoot B-raw, but you don't have the file space to deal with. If you're doing an interview or something like that, being able to go into Super 35 and shoot 4K, that is actually a great feature that I just don't seem to see anyone talking about. As predicted, Blackmagic have gone with the L mount, and I think that was a sensible choice to go with. It gives you so many more options, but you can still put those EF lenses on there if you wish. Switching to CFexpress cards as well, I think was a sensible upgrade and choice. CFast cards were getting quite old now, and we're certainly seeing the industry move away from them to newer card types. OpenGate is actually quite a surprise. I didn't expect them to do that. I thought they would stick to 16:9, but it's cool that they've added that. So that's great for anamorphic shooting, but it's also really good for doing social media content as well, as it just gives you that extra height in the frame to work with. The other big addition is the fact that it can record proxy MP4 files at the same time as shooting B-raw as well. That especially could be useful with the new Blackmagic Cloud and how you can then send files across to DaVinci Resolve remotely from the camera potentially in the future. I think these files are only for proxy though, which is a bit of a shame because I'd like to have seen them give you the option to be able to record full res MP4s for situations where you just don't need to be shooting raw. So there's definitely some cool things and unexpected upgrades. However, I think there's been quite a negative reaction to this camera overnight. And to be honest, the reason why is the fact that it's sticking into the same body design as the original Pocket cameras. This camera definitely doesn't seem to solve the issues that people had with the Pocket cameras. Firstly, its body shape. It is okay, but it is a bit large. It's awkward to put on a gimbal. It's certainly not as easy to use as compared to an FX3, for example. I think we're all hoping for a smaller body design. That's certainly what the rumors were saying, and I think that's what we all really wanted to see. Alternatively, there of course has been the box camera, rumoured and hoped for years and years, and it is really surprising Blackmagic haven't put one together at this point. That design is really popular in cinema setups, things like the Red Komodo. They're really popular because of the modularity that you have with those sorts of cameras. You can stick all the bits and pieces that you need to be able to shoot in different situations. And the fact that Blackmagic are very much aiming this as a cinema camera, and they made a big point of that in their presentation, then I think having a better camera body that can easily attach different accessories and different monitors and everything like that is more sensible. Being able to build it exactly how you want, being able to put V-Lock batteries on the back, that is more important than sticking to this kind of DSLR style body design. To go with the L mount, it looks like they've had to remove the ND filters as well, and this is so frustrating. One of the greatest features of the Pocket 6K Pro, which I've just done a recent video about why I love it so much, one of those big features is the fact you've got built-in ND filters. They weren't the best, but I was hoping for just an upgrade and improving the quality and making sure they're all color matched. Instead, it looks like we're going to have to go with filters instead and using matte boxes, and I guess that makes sense because of their mindset of this being a cinema-only camera. The other issue people had with the original body design of the Pocket cameras is the battery life, and although it was better using the Sony batteries, it still isn't great, especially compared to the competition. Sticking to the same battery but with a bigger, probably more power hungry sensor is certainly a concern. We're probably going to see at best the same battery life as the Pocket 6K, however there is a good chance it may be a bit worse. It is cool they've added the Proxy Recording option, but they have also removed ProRes. Now I didn't really use it that often, but I know there's a lot of filmmakers out there that ProRes is very much part of the workflow. A lot of production companies and production houses and agencies rely on using ProRes, and just having that as an option in camera is really awesome to have, and it's a shame that that's been removed. I know it's probably to save a bit of money on licensing, but even having it as a paid add-on might be a better option than removing it completely. In fact, we're seeing a lot of cameras nowadays add ProRes into the cameras, so it's odd that Blackmagic have gone the other way in this case. Dynamic range is okay, it looks just as good as the Pocket 6K, but not really any better. And once again, after all these years of these new cameras coming out, like the Sony FX3 and the Canon C70 have wonderful dynamic range, it is a shame that we're not seeing a step up from Blackmagic in this area. The same goes for frame rates as well. If you want to go to 120 frames per second, you're gonna have to shoot in 1080p. It also means a heavy crop as well on the sensor, so it's just not very good compared to some of the competition out there. Not a big surprise either, there's not been any upgrades to the autofocus. We never thought that was really ever going to happen, but it would have been nice to see, especially considering the competition that this camera is in. They keep going on about how this is now a more professional cinema camera, something that you're going to use on a set. But I don't think that kind of takes away from the fact that it should have features that a single operator can use. After all, this is a small camera. So who is this camera for? Well, I think if you're shooting anamorphic stuff, then this is obviously a great choice. Finally, we have Blackmagic giving us an open gate sensor so you can get true anamorphic shots. If you have a Pocket 6K Pro though, or a 6K G2, it may be a harder reason to do an upgrade. Yes, you've got that full frame sensor, but other than that, I don't think you're going to see any major improvements over the current camera that you have. This does put it in a very strange position compared to the 12K Ursa as well as the 4.6K G2 Ursa as well, both cameras that are very popular for more high-end shoots. But this is meant to be a camera that I guess is meant to overtake them or replace them to some degree, but it is much more affordable and in a very different body shape. Personally, I think those cameras are still probably better options if you're running a bigger crew. The larger camera body is going to be more useful for attaching accessories and all the things you might need, as well as the V-Lock battery on the back. And with the Ursa 4.6K G2, it still has that incredible dynamic range that still hasn't been touched by any of the smaller cameras from Blackmagic. Honestly, I was very excited about seeing a miniature Pocket 6K Pro. That's what I really wanted. The image quality is great on 6K Pro. It gives me everything I want. I just wanted a better battery life. I wanted a smaller body to make it easier to put on a gimbal and to travel with. And the addition of a mirrorless mount just would mean you'd have more options when it comes to lenses as well. However, that is not what Blackmagic have given us. They've given us a very different camera. A full frame camera, which is very impressive. But actually, when you start looking past the headline features, you do have to wonder how impressive it actually is and how popular this camera is going to be compared to the competition. The other manufacturers have really advanced a lot in the last few years. When the Pocket 4K and 6K cameras came out, they were really leading the innovation and the changes. That's no longer the case with this camera though. It's a nice upgrade, it's some nice new features, but it certainly isn't changing the game like the previous cameras did. So if you're a bit disappointed about this new camera, then maybe check out my video where I talk about the Pocket 6K Pro and why I still think it is a great camera in 2023.